All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So this afternoon, we're going to go over VS Code, some Git commands, command line interface, stuff with your bash profile to make your terminal kind of look pretty, or your different colors and stuff like that. But first, I want to go over on GitHub on your curriculum where it shows all your weeks. Down here, if we look, Kilo Platoon curriculum, we've got a bunch of stuff to help you submit code and stuff like that when you're doing challenges and stuff like that. We won't go into that right now. But I want to look right here with the daily check-ins. It's important that every morning you fill out a daily check-in form. This is good for us to get a good measure of where you're at and currently, like how you feel about the day previously, like how you felt about the challenges, any concerns, like how you feel about yesterday's curriculum, any additional feedback, whether it's like, oh, my partner sucked, or it's like, oh, I couldn't get, I just didn't understand XYZ until so-and-so said something. How are you feeling about progression, additional feedback about your progression, and just overall how you're feeling, and essentially just all this stuff. Daily check-in, it's important. I usually Slack out the link to it early, like first day or first thing in the morning. But if you want to know where it's at, it's in the curriculum, daily check-in forms. So that. Anybody any questions? So let's kind of review what we did this morning. We installed all the necessary software that we need for the rest of the class. So you shouldn't have to install anything else other than like Python packages or Node packages to help you write your software and building applications and stuff like that. We completed InstallFest. Pretty much did everything except up here, the very first one with this Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code is a text editor. Visual Studio Code is a text editor in which we will write our code, execute our code, and stuff like that. VS Code is literally just a text editor, just like Word is. Your notes on your iPad or iPhone, or if you have an Android device, I'm sure it's got a notes section in there. If you have a text file, Google Sheets is literally just, or not Google Sheets, Google Docs it's just a text editor. So that's exactly what VS Code is. It's just a text editor that was created specifically for software developers. There's other text editors out there. There's, Atom, Sublime. There's other ones out there. What is it? iTerm. iTerm is an online text editor. Or no, did you say iTerm? iTerm. Oh, iTerm. Okay. I don't even. Okay. Is that what universities are? Okay. Awesome.
What is it? VS Code is an IDE also, right?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
So VS Code is gaining a lot of popularity. It's becoming more and more the more dominant text editor, simply because of the fact that you can install almost like Chrome extensions. You can install extensions that make your life as a developer easier. And I have a list. We have a list of Chrome extensions to install. But before we do that, we want to customize our VS Code to act in a way that is beneficial, makes your life easier, makes people reading your code, makes it easier for people reading your code. So under here with the VS Code settings, this is again in the InstallFest. We want to copy and paste these settings into VS Code. And in order to get to the settings, you can go to Code, Preferences, Settings, and this will come up, which it doesn't say how to actually code it, but right here in the upper right-hand corner, there's this little piece of paper that turns around. If you click that, there are your settings. You can just copy and paste your settings in there. There's a bunch of settings, like it has a default font size of 14. Your tab size is 2, which is like 2 spaces. Word wrap is on. Another one is autosave, which is anytime you navigate away from the current file you're on, it's automatically going to save that file. That's gonna save you like half of your debugging, because a lot of times it's like, oh, it's not working. It's like, well, did you save it? You're like, oh, that's what happened. We have color themes, etc. Python settings. So just copy and paste this into your settings, and then save it. And then, as I said before, VS Code is so popular because of all the third-party, all the extensions for it. And these are the extensions I'd like you to install in VS Code. In order to get there, VS Code, you have your paper, which is like essentially your directory. If you click on that, this is where your directory is. But it's the fifth one down, where it says extensions. It's like little square blocks of cubes, and one upper right-hand corner is like coming off. If you click on that, you can search all these extensions. So Sublime Text Key Map. If you click on that, right here we have Sublime Text Key Map settings. I can install it. This extension is enabled globally. Right. I can do beautify. If you click on a extension, you can tell how popular it is based off of how many downloads it has, which is beautify has over 4 million downloads. I've already have it installed. It pretty much makes your JavaScript look pretty. VS Code icons, another one. What was it? This $4.2 million or $1 million downloads. I wish. Bracket pair colorizer. This is really good for also debugging and just visualizing your code in JavaScript when we use brackets to see which brackets match up with one another. Path IntelliSense. This is another lifesaver in that it just increases your efficiency as a software developer. Instead of writing like for each dot and like all code, you can like start typing in for each, and it'll already kind of know, hey, you're in a JavaScript file, you're typing for each, so it's going to try to auto like complete all that stuff.
Are all these extensions free, or are there any like paid extensions?
They are all free. These ones are the ones we're having installed. I don't even know if I actually don't know of paid extensions. Preview on web server, another one.
What's that one?
You can like right click and put preview on web server, and it'll like spin up a web server. I don't really use that one. I just rarely ever use it. Python, and then this new one, Live Share. This is for real-time collaborating through VS Code. We haven't used this before, but it's relatively new with VS Code. It's really good for remote teams. So if like an in-person is paired with a remote person, you guys can both work in the same VS Code and like make changes in different files on the same machine. You can walk through each other's code instead of a lot of times in the past, remote students, like one person is sharing a screen and writing the code, and the other person is kind of like, type it here on this line. What line are you talking about? So whereas VS Code Live Share, you can actually go to that line and show the person what to type, or explain your thought logic behind your code. So this is kind of, I'm not 100% familiar with how to use it. There are YouTube videos out there, so if you need to watch a couple of YouTube videos to understand how that works and stuff like that, I recommend doing so. So let's look. So with all that, and you'll probably have to restart VS Code for that all that stuff to kick in. So if you worked in VS Code prior, you probably didn't see all these different folders, like the icons with JS and stuff like that. So this is what icons does, but also it makes the brackets match up and stuff like that. So what questions do you have? Nothing. So let's back out to week 1, day 1 again. Let's go over your IDE. What is it? What is an IDE?
Integrated development environment.
There you go. So our IDE is essentially just where you write, execute code from the browser. So we write code in VS Code. We execute your code in iTerm or VS Code, which is the terminal to execute it. And we run our apps in Chrome browser. So if you don't have Chrome, I highly recommend downloading it because there's a lot of Chrome dev tools. Firefox also has dev tools, but Chrome dev tools works a lot for debugging and gaining insight into your code in the browser. So previously, in our bash profile, how do I open it? How do I open my bash profile? What do I write?
Code space dot.
Space dot?
Yeah.
If I wanted to just open the bash profile.
Are you talking about iTerm?
Yeah. Bash profile. So if you ever want to open, you know how we use the open to open up files and stuff. If you do open that period, it just automatically opens VS Code. But if you want to open a very specific file, it's open followed by that file. So I actually want to open it in VS Code. Is it open? Did I say open or did I say code? See if this works. Did I open? I was like, okay, yep. Bash profile. So yeah, it's code bash profile, not open bash profile. If you do open, it just actually opens the file in the default text editor. So your bash profile, if essentially, so if you're like a high roller, if you're a whale and you go to Vegas, all the hotels, all the casinos want you there. So they'll usually, if you want to go to a specific casino like Bellagio, Venetian, or any one of them, they'll ask you like, hey, what do you want before you, like, what do you want set up in your room before you come? Like, what are your settings? What are your configuration to your hotel room that you want? You want some crystal? You want some whatever you want? Essentially, they'll like pretty much do whatever you want because they want your money. Your bash profile is essentially the same thing. Anytime this loads up, anytime you start your machine, these commands will run and it'll customize your overall computer, essentially run your different like settings. So if you want like the command, like this terminal, how it's like different colors and it's kind of easy to read, this is what all this is. So open up your bash profile and copy and paste this command, these settings in your terminal or into your bash profile. So again, in order to open up your bash profile, it's code.
Where do you get the command line
in VS?
In VS Code, you can go up to here to terminal, new terminal, or control tilde, and I'll open your terminal.
Say control.
The tilde, the right after the key left of the number 1. Code bash profile. And then copy and paste those settings. If you already have settings you already like, you don't have to do this. And then you want to, how do you reload your bash profile?
You have to source it.
All right, so source.
Tilde, yeah, // dot bash.
So if you don't know already, this is a backslash, and this is a /. Oh, come on, it's going slow. That's a question mark. Backslash, /. Come on. Then you can restart your terminal, just like quit VS Code, and everything might take a couple minutes, but does anybody not have their terminal color coded? Is it just not working?
It's not.
Okay, we'll get to it. I mean, it's just kind of makes it easier to read and stuff like that. So under the curriculum on day 1, week 1, or week 1, day 1, under additional resources. Oh, that's great. There are a lot of shortcuts that'll make your life easier when navigating your IDE, your VS Code, your code in VS Code. A lot of it is like copy and pasting. If at any time you see me doing something or Noah doing something, that like, oh, that was easy. Like, how'd you move that around so fast? Just ask us, and we'll let you know. But I think right here, this bookmark, these shortcuts should work. Yeah, weird.
It's saying, do you want to customize VS Code to behave more like Sublime text? Do I want that?
Yeah.
I found another thing that shows that I can put in.
Okay, yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you. So, like, for example, ooh, yeah. Nice. Anybody have any questions so far? So I'm going to cover YouTube. So we record all of our lectures and we upload them to YouTube. Usually the day of or the next day. We usually try to do it the day of. In here we have resource videos. These are all past lectures. So if you want to see InstallFest again from India Platoon or Juliet Platoon, you can go to like Code Platoon Platoon demo. Click here and go to playlist. And these are all playlists. India Platoon week 1, Juliet Platoon week 1, and they're all here. There's John. So here's like week 1, day 2, week 1, day 1, week 1, day 1. So I recommend bookmarking YouTube and reviewing, like after, if you need to review something, utilize the previous lecture that we did in the class, or look at a past lecture. They're usually pretty descriptive of what we went through that day. Again, I recommend bookmarking this curriculum. You'll be coming here pretty much daily. If you even close out your windows, which I rarely ever do. It's a problem. I'm gonna do, what we got? So let's take a 5-minute break, be back at 1:27, and we're gonna get into Git and like the Git commands and like utilizing the terminal instead of the mouse, essentially, to navigate your operating system.